So we have a few things to talk about because, girl, I am just not here for the bullshit and the disrespect that I'm getting on the internet because it's like people want to sit up here and judge my situation when 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, it came close to my own mother getting physical with me, boo. That's domestic violence. I had nothing. I had to pull strings to get out. And now my mom is sitting up here trying to force me to go move into this apartment 5 minutes from where I grew up, knowing that I don't want to fucking be there. And it's like, okay, yeah, I hate living in Jersey, but at the same time, it's like I went to friends of mine, asked them for money, they refused to help. I tried to get a job. I had an insurance job lined up, but the way that fell through was because I had transportation, but my ride didn't show up. So then I had to sit up here and first of all, I only had like $50, right? My insurance exam cost $38. So I only had $12. Then I was sitting up. See, it's like people want to sit up here and judge my situation. It's like they're talking about, oh, go no contact, go no contact, go no contact. But, boo, I have groceries I need, boo. I have shit I really need. Like, it's real. It's crunch time, boo. I've been on my own in this hotel for like, what, 3 weeks now? Give a little, take a little. I still have like 2 weeks left anyway, but still. Because I think today's January 7th, I believe. Yeah. Today's Sunday, January 7th. Yep, 2024. So, it's like my best friend, West Virginia, she's sitting up here. First of all, the only reason why I even agreed to move out was because my boyfriend lives in California. So I was trying to find places in Los Angeles. The problem, because I was going to rent a little room because I don't have a huge budget like that, girl. I'm not sitting up here balling on money, boo. But when I moved out, like, first of all, when I moved out, I was so hopeful. I was so determined. I was ambitious. Like, I really tried everything, boo. And then people want to sit up here and judge me. Oh, well, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. Don't you think if I'm sitting here asking for assistance, asking for advice, that I've done everything you're telling me to do? So why are you sitting here getting mad with me when I say, oh, I don't have any support. My family believes you know who because they all believe her lies about me. Da, 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 da. Like, I filed a police report on my mother, boo. That police report doesn't fucking lie. And on top of that, there's a fucking YouTuber trying to file a lawsuit against me who's sitting up. He's so narcissistic. Like, I can't even tell y'all the levels of bullshit that this man, this 50 fucking year old man, 51, 52. My cousin is 53 years old. My cousin is a gangster. It's a literal, like, black stereotype. Like, and it's no shade, but it's true. My cousin is from the hood, grew up in the streets, has been on his own since he was 17 years old. Told me verbatim he's murdered people, boo. We fell out the first 3 days he moved into my mother's house because I saw right through him, boo. You're not this, holy man of God that you try to claim to be. And, first you're Muslim, then you're Christian, then you're this, then you're like, pick a side. First of all, Nicki Minaj. See, I'm not no Nicki Minaj fan, but Nicki Minaj told your ass, bitch, pick a side, okay? You can't sit up here one day you're a Christian, tomorrow you're Muslim, talking about assalamu alaikum, salam. You can't do that, boo. You can't be Malcolm X on Tuesday and then try to be Etta James on Wednesday talking about I'm a bohemian, I'm a rebel. What Quran, what Torah did they teach you that in, boo? Don't they tell you? First of all, I grew up in a Christian fundamentalist family, and one thing that I was taught, boo, was in the Ten Commandments. They said, thou shalt not covet what thy neighbor has, boo. Meaning, you cannot compare yourself to other people. You cannot be jealous of other people. You cannot steal from other people what you can't steal what other people have. Like, and yes, I'm an atheist, but there's certain things in the Ten Commandments that are very true about life. Okay. So that's one thing that I've never actually really spoken about like that on Miss YouTube, because it's like, if I even utter one word about my family, now they're trying to threaten me to get physical and put hands on me. I had to go off of YouTube for 3 fucking years because my cousin tried to lie on me and assumed that I made a video about him when I never actually made a video about him at all. I was talking about a different relative of mine who did some other shady shit. And then first of all, but like I said, that caused the whole altercation where my cousin sat up here, tried to threaten to commit arson on me, trying to threaten to vandalize my room, and show my mother how he was going to do it. Laughing with my mother. They're both, oh, ha, 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 he, about arson. That is a crime, bitch. That's a crime. That is a crime. You could go to prison. Girl, the judicial system will be at your door. Talk about, girl, you have your, J. Edgar Hoover is at your door. Talk about, girl, you have 20 years in prison. Ooh, federal charge. RICO charge, bitch. Remember how during COVID, all them rappers we saw got RICO charges, bitch? Yeah, my cousin would have been in that set, boo. My cousin has also said that he's a failed pimp, boo. My cousin has also said he's a murderer. And I used to have that recorded on videotape of my cousins. First of all, the reason why I even recorded that in the first place was not even about him. I was doing a Patreon video. And my cousin, because first of all, I used to do reaction videos on Patreon. My cousin, like 10 minutes into my reaction video, walks into the conversation and takes over the conversation. And next thing you know, a normal 10-minute reaction video. This is part 2 of my last story time because my camera fucked up. So I had to make my new video. Anyway, so yeah, a normal 10-minute conversation became like 2.5 hours of my cousin telling my mom's story after story. Like, it just had to be all about him, and like, it's just, and my dynamic with my family is a whole other video, but basically, long story short, it's like, you know, even with me being in this fucking motel, like this hotel, it's like, yeah, like, people will really show you who they are when you need money. Like, when it's like, I had a whole plan. First of all, I had 2 plans. Number 1, my first plan was, I'm gonna get this insurance job. I'm gonna, I gotta take this test, because I had the money to do everything. But the problem was my ride didn't show up when I needed my transportation to show up. So that just totally fucked up my entire plan. And I basically had to quit my job, and I was let go. I was let go from my job, my insurance job, that I had to beg to get back because it was for this company I used to work for, I think a year ago. And I got my job back. Everything was cool. They said, okay, as long as you take the insurance, the state exam, and you pass, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, woo, I'm hopeful, woo, woo, woo. Okay, everything's good. Then on the day of my transportation didn't show up. On the day, it was a Tuesday. On that Tuesday, my ride didn't show up, girl. So now I'm sitting up here feeling humiliated and embarrassed because it's like, if people only fucking knew how hard I fought to get this job. First of all, I worked there before. I had to leave because I could not get transportation then. And now I have to give up my job because I have transportation, but the transportation did not show up for me. Now it's the opposite situation. Like, that was a whole, like, that left a bad taste in my mouth. And even with that, like, people will really show you who they are when you have to depend on somebody. Like, people will really give you their ass to kiss when you, like, it's like, see, and I was gonna quote somebody, but yeah, it's like when you really need help from people, people will not care about you. People will laugh at you. People like, and because I know because it's happened to me. And people try to like when I first of all, even from a social media standpoint, I've been on YouTube 15 years. 15 years I've been on YouTube. Not on YouTube. I'm saying 14 years I've been on YouTube. Sorry, 15 years um, 15 years I've been on social media, and actually, 15 years because it's 2024. Yeah, 15 years I've been on YouTube. Come July 23rd of 2024, be my 15-year anniversary on YouTube, but it's just like with the way things are going right now, I don't even want to do no elaborate anniversary for my YouTube and my YouTube career because it's like in the situation I'm in right now, I don't even have the time to think about that when first of all, I had to leave a domestic violence situation in order to even have peace, and now I have to go back to my hometown where I grew up, which is 5 minutes from my abuser's house. And even for that, boo, it's like when first of all, when I was sitting up here saying I can't afford to leave, I can't afford to leave, I can't afford to leave, I'm sitting there going to groups, I'm going to groups, I'm going to friends, I went to groups, I went to friends, I went to, I even contacted shelters, but the shelters I contacted were like, oh no, we're temporary, we're not long term, da 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 da, and it's like even like I tried everything, I really did, and it's like, yeah, I filed that police report against my mom, but it's just like, and see, first of all, even with my YouTube career, I had people sitting up here talking about, my own family members talking about, you need to get a normal 9 to 5 job, hang it up, your YouTube career, like, I want your channel deleted. Talk about my YouTube channel. My own family is talking about, I want your YouTube channel deleted. My aunt's talking about, trying to gaslight me, talking about, oh, if you've put all the I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember her verbatim how she said it, but she said something basically about my YouTube channel, my YouTube career. Like, oh, if you've done something for that amount of years and it's not working, you might want to hang it up and get a job, get a real job. Like, and first of all, I've had several jobs. I have worked several jobs. It's just that nothing stuck long term. That's how I got in this situation. That, and first of all, it's like my abuser is trying to control me because her boyfriend is coming to my place. I was told to never contact my family again, but it's like, yeah, if I don't contact them, I'm not gonna have food. I'm not gonna have beverages to drink. I'm not. First of all, if you look at my bank account, girl, my budget is $3. $3. Who could live off $3? And I'm only in this hotel till January 18th, boo. First of all, I was going to prepare to move to California from Tinton Falls, New Jersey, where I am right now. But it's the simple fact of, it's like I went to friends. One of my friends lives in Pennsylvania, like the border of Ohio somewhere, right? Like fucking boony country. And it's no shade. I love you down, girl, but you know you are. But it's like he's an abuse survivor too, and he went through shit too, and he got out of it too. But at the same time, it's like even he's sitting up here trying to tell me, oh, because he does photo shoots, and I'm happy for him, I'm proud of him, and he's really moving and shaking the way he needs to. But it's like we're in two totally different situations where it's like, yeah, he was able to get out of his situation, but at the same time, it's like, he has a job working with kids. He makes like $2,000 a month. He's fine. Like he has buku money. Like he's not struggling the way I am. So it's like, yeah, like see, a couple years ago he was in my situation, but at the same time, it's like you're not in my situation anymore. So it's just like, you like, even if you were able to relate to me then, it's still a matter of fact of you can't relate to me now because you're no longer in my shoes. You don't understand what it was like for me to have to struggle and sacrifice. And like I had a deadline to make. I had to push certain things back. Even when I moved out, I only took 2 suitcases and like one bag. It's like I'm really sitting here living out of out of 2 suitcases, girl. Like struggling. And guess what? Everybody else was doing when I sat up here and left. They congratulated me for leaving, but it's like, girl, I tried to get a job. I applied for several jobs and got turned down for every single one. First of all, for 5 years, I sent seven. I submitted 700 or more, probably like I would say 800 by now. I submitted 800 job applications in 5 years, and the jobs I was hired for, there were like a couple jobs I was hired for in that time. They were jobs I was not qualified for, and I only did those jobs just to be able to get by. Like I was desperate. I was desperate, and technically, I still am desperate for a job because it's like, yeah, I left, but at the same time, it's like the plan I had because I had a whole plan. All I had to do was pass this insurance exam, which ended up not happening for a whole other reason, as y'all know. But it's like I had a whole plan that fucked up and it fell through. So then I had to sit up here and try to struggle and sacrifice and like beg people for help. Friends of mine sat up here and turned their back on me. Friends of mine sat up here and judged me. Like, I only wish y'all fucking knew how humiliating it is. First of all, not just the humiliation of having to even say, like, I'm a domestic violence survivor who is impoverished and I left. Because, first of all, when I was living with my abuser, they tried to make it seem like all you need to do is get a job and an education while you're living at home. You're going on social media. Like, people really tried to fucking gaslight me on the internet for years. Probably more than 10 years. I could tell, more than 10 years, I could tell you social media posts I made where people really tried to fucking gaslight me. And they tried to blame me and tried to victim shame me. And we're talking, girl, this is before the Me Too movement was even a thing. Okay. I could tell you personal friends of mine who I personally told, this is my situation. I need help. I need to get out. Da, 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 da. Girl, they're no longer in my life either because they also tried to gaslight me. And it's like, it's just like really, like I really sat up here and had to ask people for money. Like I really did. I don't have money like that. I sat up here and, you know, like I did everything right, but and the one good thing is at least see with my mom's boyfriend, his whole fucking thing is he's a narcissist too, just like my abuser. But the problem is, it's like he is there. There's a whole other side of this that I can't explain because it's my personal information, but it's like I'm still having to be controlled by my abuser just through her boyfriend. Like I had to fucking risk my relationship with my boyfriend who's in California, waiting for me in 2 weeks' time on January 18th. I was sitting up here for all the time. Oh, we're good. I'm moving to California. Oh my god! And he was so excited. He was like, "Yes, girl." Da, 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 da. Do you realize the minute I told my best friend in West Virginia, "Oh, girl, I have a boyfriend now. We've been dating 7 months." Da, 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 da. I think he's the one. Da, 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 da. But there's one problem. You know, if I'm not in California on the 18th, because you know he can only help me if I'm in Los Angeles, then it'll be a problem. Here's what she said to me. She sat up first of all because when I told her, you know, he treats me right, da 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 da. He's not da 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 da. He's like, first of all, my boyfriend's a millionaire, and my boyfriend never asked me for money. My boyfriend has never tried to use me. My boyfriend has never tried to sit up here and disrespect me. And first of all, when I first met my boyfriend, we had an argument because I was going through a situation where I was being, let's just say, verbally abused. Let's put it like that. I'm not gonna go into specific, but I told him, hey, I want you to come to Jersey and spend time with me because, like I could really just have having somebody around really just cheer me up and lift my spirits and da. That turned into a whole argument. Like, but see, I think had I told him that now, it would have been a totally different conversation, and he would have been more receptive to it. But I can understand his mindset at that time now better because we barely knew each other at that point because we had just started dating. Um, and like I said, that's also a whole other story, but not related to this. But it's just like when I told my best friend in West Virginia about um, what I was going through with, I'm struggling. I have to, I have a deadline to meet January 18th. Da, 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 da. If I don't have $500 for renting my plane flight by the 18th, I'm gonna be in the street. Da, 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 I'm gonna be in the street. And I told her about my boyfriend, how, you know, my boyfriend's only able to help me if I'm getting to Los Angeles. Like if I'm actually in Los Angeles, then he's able to help me. Da, 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 da. Here's guess what she said. She said, "I have concerns about him." Like, and then she tried to sit up here like, and I love you down. You know who you are. You're my sister. But it's like you're sitting up here like you're in West Virginia. You have your own apartment. You have two grown children. You have an ex-husband. And first of all, my friend has sat up here and tried to. My friend has seen my struggles. I've showed her pictures. I've personally spoke to her. I've sent her recordings of the abuse of when my abuser used to verbally, verbally abuse me, damn near physically abuse me. So my friends know what's going on. It's not like I kept them in the dark about it and didn't tell them. They knew for years what was going on, and they still sat up here and just tried to refute. Like it's just see that's the shit I'm talking about. Like when people like that's why I said before. You know, this world like where if you need people who really are on your corner, like in your corner, and who you can depend on, like that goes a long way. Like that taught me a very, very, very valuable lesson because instead of getting angry, I decided to make this video because it's like it's so cathartic for me, especially because I I am an abuse survivor. I was an addict for 7 years. I got sober from pills. Like that's a whole other thing. Like I said, my personal information about my abuser, but I'm not going to focus on that because girl, I moved on from my abuser, and I'm not allowed to actually live with her anymore. So that's that on that. That chapter's closed, girl. So, but I was gonna address my abuser's boyfriend. So her boyfriend has this whole plan for me. First of all, it's not just my friend just sent me a message. Um it's not just her boyfriend who has this plan. It's also her too. The part y'all don't understand is that my abuser is still trying to control me through her boyfriend. And this I first of all I have recordings where I sit here and I tell him to his face, she lied to me, she lied to you, like and he's sitting here denying it because he only sees the good in her. He doesn't see how evil she is because it's all behind closed doors. Her abuse toward me was behind closed doors. Like he doesn't first of all, and I've told him multiple times, my family is abusive, my cousin did it. Like my first of all, my abuser's boyfriend knew my grandfather who died before I was born. Like we've had personal conversations, and I have recordings of all of this. Him saying, I knew your grandfather. I was friends with your grandfather. you're just like him. Did it like he's told me you're just like your grandfather. You always have work going on. You always have like a high work ethic. Like your mom's, and it's like you know my whole family could even tell you. Donald's just like his grandmother. Oh my God, he's so about courtship. He's so old. He's such a gentleman. Da, 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 da. From the time he was young, he used to watch I Love Lucy and Lucille Ball, Lucille Ball. Every day had a Lucille Ball story about him, and it's like the part people don't know is Lucille Ball was also an abuse victim, sweetie. She's also an abuse survivor. That's the part people don't know. And people used to get shocks and stunned when she used to say Desi Arnaz about Desi Arnaz. And girl, it's no shade because Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz are my idols, but we have to keep it real right now. We have to keep it 100 because and this is why I have an issue with stan culture today. How people how these Gen Z and these young people today refuse to acknowledge that their favorite, their idols like Nicki Minaj, Lady Gaga, and them, how they think they're so perfect, and it's like, girl, they're human. They're going to make mistakes, just like you and me. And when you refuse to acknowledge someone's flaws, that is a form of delusion to me. That is delusional, because by these stands for refusing to acknowledge their faves abuse or their faves shady past or criminal past, whatever it might be. I don't know. There might be any allegations or SA or rape or whatever it might be. By these stands and these Gen Z girls in today's time refusing to acknowledge all of that, it creates a delusion in these fan bases. I can tell you personally, Jeffree Star's fans, it's the same thing. Nicki Minaj's fans, it's the same thing. Um, uh, what is it? There's so many examples, girl. I'm 30 years old. I've been around too long, boo. I've been around for like 3, 4 generations right now. I was born in '96. Like, I I grew up pre-internet, before social media was even invented. Like, I had to learn how to use a GPS at 9 years old, boo. Before GPSs were in everybody's car, boo. I used to drive around with my dad, and my dad used to. This is 2004, 2005. My father used to tell me when my dad bought something called a TomTom GPS. Before every car had a GPS in it, boo. Before the internet was even mainstream, I was using GPS. My dad used to call me Munch, and he would say, "Munch, plug the GPS." And I had to first of all, I had taught myself how to use a GPS before the internet at 9. Boo. I had to teach myself. Girl, I had an atlas at 8 years old. Boo. And I would just sit and turn the pages of my atlas, my physical atlas, not Atlas the Greek mythological story, but like an actual atlas, it's a book where you turn the page, girl, and there's maps, boo. There's maps of different locations, different states. Georgia, Florida. I think they might have had Canada, a map of the Canadian provinces too. But it's to say, like, people try to make me seem like I'm not old school. I'm actually way more old school than people think. It's just that I'm a mix of both. I can be old school, but I'm also very, very postmodern and very modern too. It's just that people really don't see the that old soul, so to speak, side of me. That kind of, I guess you could say, the empath side of me. But you know, I'm telling you, my family could personally tell you, like, I grew up, idolizing Lucille Ball and like watching I Love Lucy and watching Aisha Tyler, watching Joan Rivers. You know what I mean? Like, and I even today, like, I still find myself trying to check my own self on, oh, why don't these Gen Z kids, know about courtship and etiquette and sophistication? But then I had to check myself, like, girl, their parents are my age. that's the whole, that's the whole thing of it. Like, that's the whole problem. Like, their parents are my age, and you have to also think their parents might not be, their parents might not. Because first of all, if you were old enough, and I'm talking to people my age, I'm talking to young millennials like me, because I'm 27, and y'all know we're the last television, film, and radio generation out there in the world today. So this is not for Gen Z. This is for millennials, young millennials. And girl, I know because my sister's 48 years old, boo, and my sister's a grandmother, so I can personally tell you that Like, okay, give me 1 second because I'm gonna do a part three. Give me 1 second because this is not a. This was more of a story time about me. So I'm gonna go shift to Gen Z, and then we're gonna close the video. Give me 1 second. Yeah, for Gen Z, like, if I mean, this is not for Gen Z, I'm sorry, but for young millennials like me, because I'm 27. Like I said, we're the last television and film and radio generation. Where back in our generation, television, everybody had to watch television in order to learn about the society and the news. You had to listen to the radio. We had Don Imus on CBS Radio, and we had Wendy Williams on the Wendy Williams Experience on WBLS. If y'all live in New York, in the New York area like me, y'all could personally remember when Wendy Williams had her radio show on WBLS. Because I'm from Jersey, I know. Because girl, New York is right over the river, girl. I'm 2 hours from New York, bro. So I know, I can tell you because I used to listen to Wendy with my mom, and I got my mom into Wendy when I was like 6 years old. Bro. I can tell you because before Wendy was on television talking about how you doing, I watched Wendy's growth on the radio. I watched Wendy. I used to openly tell people, "Yo, Wendy Williams is gonna be a star." Like I know, I can see it in her. She's so real and like, see, Wendy is so like if y'all know people from New Jersey like me, because I grew up in New Jersey, I can tell you personally because Wendy's just like a lot of girls, older women too, who I knew from Jersey. Wendy is more Jersey than you want to, than people even know. Like if you're from out of state, you might not understand what I'm talking about. But if you're from Jersey like me, I can tell you, you probably know 10 to 15 girls like Wendy. And it's so funny because it's true. But you probably know 10 to 15 girls like Wendy from Jersey. And New York is the same way. A lot of these New York girls from NYC and New York City and Jersey are like siblings to me. I always say Jersey is um, New York City's older sibling tries to be the babysitter when New York City tries to, you know, uh, tries to rebel and oh, you're not my mom, and it's like Jersey's like her, I'm your older sister. I know how to raise you, boo. You're sitting up here cutting up, but girl, when you were born, like I held you in my arms when I was 15. You were a baby girl. Miss Manhattan when you were 15. See, anyway, that I'm becoming more satirical with that girl, but I might do another comedy skit, because that's the other thing. I have like thousands of unreleased videos just sitting, and I've never released them, just sitting. And looking back now, I'm like, why didn't I release them? Oh yeah, because I had an abusive family to run away from. Girl, I literally was Tina Turner. Like I was Tina Turner, and it was given Tina and Ike. Like I could tell you personally, my cousin used to sit up here and go off on me, look to me in my face. And girl, my cousin is low key satanic, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Because my mother and my grandfather were also satanic too, but that's, like I said, different conversation for a different day. Anyway, so my cousin is sitting up here talking, looking me in my face, like with no hesitation, going off on me, talk about Ike beat Tina, bitch, don't fuck with me. And I really need people to understand, like, when I used to make my Hot Topics YouTube videos about these YouTubers and how they're misogynistic and how, even the celebrities I used to clock on Patreon and on YouTube, how, they're disrespectful to their fans and how, I don't like all that. Like, because me personally, I used to openly say, like, yo, like, somebody needs to check this bitch before I do. And I look back and laugh now because it's like, I remember when I was a child, when I grew up before social media, before people, were on the internet saying the things I used to say, you know, I used to think as a child, like, wow, I wish I had somebody who, could, you know, defend me from the bullies and somebody who could, openly, you know, um, I'm trying to find the right words to explain this. I wish I had, like, basically, I wish I could have been the person that I needed when I was a child. Because I was not this person as a child. I was very docile, very quiet, very meek and submissive. And I was given very conservative Christian family, girl. Like, girl, first of all, I made it possible for a Beyonce to do a song called Church Girl. Girl, I was giving you church boy. Girl, and that's, like I said, a whole other conversation for a different day. If y'all want a story time about that, just let me know. But I grew up like very religious. Like it was given very Nessa Barrett. Like I relate to her in that way. I love Nessa Barrett down, but it's so disp- like and as told by Kenya too. She grew up Muslima. You know, she grew up in Islam. I grew up Christian. It's a whole thing. But you know, like I said, Kenya was Muslima. Like Quadir Howard, another one, he grew up Muslim, but he took a turn for the worse for the whole other thing. But anyway, it goes to show you that, like, you know, I today in today's generation, I am the person who I needed to, I am the person I begged for help from when I was a child, like, and I'm able to look back on my younger years with fondness now because, and with a smile now because I had to be that person at, you know, let's say 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old. You know, like I could tell you personally, I remember growing up, I can personally tell you, you know, in 2001 when I was 5 years old, I remember hearing Nelly Furtado for the first time. Like when I'm Like a Bird came out on the radio and you had to, this is back when you had to promote a record on the radio in order to even have anyone hear you and even know who you were. And in 2001, I'm sitting up here like captivated by this voice talking about I'm Like a Bird. I only fly away. I'm like, who is this girl? Nelly Furtado. Like I first of all, it took me 10 years to figure out she was the same girl from Promiscuous Girl, like with Timbaland. Because first of all, I was a 5 year old when I Like a Bird came out, so I had no idea she was the same girl talking about Promiscuous Girl. You're teasing me with Timbaland, but it was so crazy because I've told this story before on I think on Patreon years ago because I was on Patreon for 7 years, 8 years, and I gave up Patreon. It's a whole other story. But years ago, I told the story, but I'm going to tell it to you guys again for YouTube purposes, for context, for, you know, to document my story. And in 2006, like I said, fast forward from '01 to '06, in 2006, Nelly Furtado released her third album called Loose. And that album was actually the album that most people know from her, because that's the album she's known for, is Loose. But Whoa Nelly is the album that was her first album. It was her debut. And um, a lot of people forget that Nelly Furtado was the world's first Portuguese celebrity. Not celebrity, but the world's first Portuguese music, like first Portuguese famous celebrity. I'm saying, like, she was a musician. She's Portuguese Canadian. Nelly Furtado herself even said too that when she came on the scene, she said she was like um, she had to travel across America by car. She moved to New York for 2 months with her record with her the executive of her record label. His aunt lived in New York City because Nelly Furtado's Canadian and so is her label. They're all Canadian. Her label, the studio heads of her label were all from the West Coast of Canada. So her the executive at her record label had an aunt who lived in Brooklyn, New York. And actually, Brooklyn's from by me, girl. So I'm like, what is Nelly do? See, in today's time, I'd be kind of like, girl, what are you doing moving from Canada to New York City, girl? That's a cultural shift. Like, Nelly is kind of like me where, you know, I don't know if a girl like Nelly could really fit in the hood in New York. Like, are you sure about that, girl? Because see, Brooklyn today is gentrified, but when I was growing up, because I used to go to New York as a kid, like pre-internet, Brooklyn back then was considered the hood. It was considered urban. You know, lock your doors. Do you know where you are? Like, or you're in Brooklyn. Like, Lil Kim. This is before Lil Kim made that song, Brooklyn, Put Your Lighters Up, girl. Because we're talking about Biggie Smalls and Lil Kim's Brooklyn, New York. Um, and we're talking about Nana Cherry and Don Cherry's where's Brooklyn, girl. Brooklyn. Like, we're not talking about, we're not talking about, you know, the Brooklyn of today, which is all gentrified and artsy, and like Williamsburg is completely different. New York today is so different from when I was growing up because I used to go to New York when I was a kid, But anyway, that's a whole like I said, whole other story. But yeah, so back to Nelly Furtado. Nelly Furtado is my favorite songwriter of all. My shit. Let me quote because I'm talking too fast. Sorry, I can't talk to that for some reason. But Nelly Furtado is my favorite songwriter of all time, and she's actually the first musician I ever listened to for the first time and really supported. And I'm talking about this is before the internet. Back when, girl, I was 6 years old with my own Walkman. I used to go to school with a Walkman with my cute little yellow Sony Walkman, girl. If y'all remember that generation of Walkmans where you had to carry a Walkman and put your little CD in there, you had to open the top, put your CD in, and you close the top, and the CD would spin. Y'all, I'm telling y'all remember it. See, Gen Z don't know. Gen Z does not know how hard we had to fight to get, streaming platforms and shit like that. Like we're the first millennials are the first streaming generation too, but no one wants to acknowledge that because I used to have conversations in 2008 about streaming platforms, and everybody used to be rude about streaming platforms. Like, oh, streaming platforms are not going to be a thing in 2 years. Oh, that's a novelty act, and it's a fad. People used to say that about streaming platforms in 2008. 2008, they used to say streaming platforms are going to be over in 2 years. People used to roll their eyes and thumb their nose at streaming platforms. And today, look. Now, if you look today, streaming platforms are bigger than ever, girl. Bigger than ever. Because of an open letter Taylor Swift wrote. And girl, I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan, but anyway. Because of an open letter Taylor Swift wrote, talk about, I don't like that I'm not being paid for my album sales and on stream platforms. What are we gonna do? Because people are is anyway. But my thoughts on Taylor Swift is a whole other video because girl, we're very different people, and girl, from what I've heard on Taylor Swift, girl, she's not anyway. So, but anyway, so yeah, like I said, Nelly Furtado. So see, y'all thought I forgot. I didn't forget. So when Nelly Furtado came on the scene, right? So like I said, fast forward to we're gonna go back to 2006 in a minute, but for 2001, when Nelly Furtado came on the scene, she was the world's only Portuguese celebrity who anyone really knew in any generation because you have other Portuguese celebrities, but they're in other fields. They're not musicians. And with Nelly being a woman, with Nelly being the only female Portuguese celebrity at that time, she truly put Portugal on the map for the world. Like, Gen Z will never understand that. Nelly Furtado's fame at the height of her career, like Nelly Furtado and Justin Timberlake and Timbaland were those girls. Like, y'all, Gen Z will never know. They will never know. Like, and it's interesting because Nelly Furtado said that she said in terms of her fame in Canada, her celebrity status in Canada, and before she won the Juno Awards for Will Nelly. The Junos are Canada's Grammy Awards, by the way, for y'all who don't know. Nelly said that the night before the Juno Awards, she was a nobody. She said the minute she sang I'm Like a Bird at the Juno Awards in 2001, she said the next day I was on every single magazine cover in Canada. Like, y'all really do not understand how we had to read magazines to know anything about celebrities. We had to listen to the radio, read magazines, watch television, like on TV every single day, like in order to even learn one thing about celebrities. Celebrities were not accessible like they are today. Like, y'all really need to, like, Gen Z, really, this video is for Gen Z. And I really want to try to impart lessons for Gen Z because I really do have empathy for Gen Z because y'all really don't have role models like that. And it's the least I could do, girl. But anyway, yeah, so first of all of Nelly Furtado's albums are timeless. Every single one. You have Wo Nelly. I can quote lyrics from every song of Wo Nelly. I can quote lyrics from every song on her album, Folklore. First of all, back to Taylor Swift for a minute. Taylor Swift, girl, I have a problem with you, and I really don't like you because you fucking stole the concept of Nelly Furtado's folklore album. And first of all, Nelly Furtado did that album 20 years ago. It is 2000. Well, first of all, 21 years ago. It is 2024 right now. And for you to sit up here and steal a whole concept and the title of Nelly's album like the way you did, call it folklore, bitch. I don't fucking like you, Taylor Swift. I never liked Taylor Swift because, girl, she has this image she portrays just like Madonna. That's why I don't like Madonna and Beyonce either, because they're the same way. Taylor, Beyonce, and Madonna have this fake ass image where they try to portray themselves as, oh, you know, I'm so postmodern and I'm one of you and I'm a girl of the people and, you know, I'm a helpless victim who, you know, oh, I'm rebellious and I'm this and I'm that and I'm a goody two shoes, and but I can also turn up and go to the club. Like, girl, I see right through y'all. Like, after things I've heard, articles I've read, statements y'all said on camera, like, and your stands try to excuse that shit. Like, I see through you, Beyonce. I see through you, Madonna. I see through you, Taylor Swift. Like, you're not, like, sweetie, on my YouTube channel, bitch, you're not above reproach. See, and y'all and people used to get on me as a kid for saying shit like this, but it's true. Like, I'm all about integrity and authenticity. And when you say one thing and do another behind closed doors, I feel a way about you. Like, I judge you. Because how can you tell your fans one thing and then do another thing behind closed doors? That is so fake and low key narcissistic. First of all, but I was gonna tell y'all a story about how I was off the job 14 years old and about how I know about Satanism before it was popular to talk about openly. Girl, I was ahead of my time. But anyway, girl, y'all ain't ready. But anyway, so, but I'll get to that another story time, girl. Remind me, just do another. Remember doing another story time. But yeah. So fast forward to 2006. Now Nelly Furtado's famous. She did Whoa Nelly as her first album. She did Folklore as her second album, and now it is 2006's album Loose. And you have, first of all, with Whoa Nelly, that album was ahead of its fucking time. First of all, Whoa Nelly was ahead of its time for the simple fact that I feel like, a lot of Nelly Furtado, I see a lot of Nelly Furtado and Shawn Mendes. It's kind of crazy to even say that, but it's true. Because Nelly Furtado is Portuguese Canadian. Her parents are first generation. They came over from Portugal and had Nelly and her sister Lisa Ann. And Nelly grew up with where her Portuguese culture was all around her in Victoria, British Columbia, where she's from. And there's pictures of Nelly, in her Portuguese garb, and even in her live performances during the Whoa Nelly era. Because see, bitch, before Taylor Swift had eras of her career, bitch, before Beyonce had eras of her career, Nelly Furtado had eras of her career, boo. I can personally tell you because I grew up back then. I know, like, before social media and internet, Nelly Furtado was that girl. You give Nelly Furtado her flowers while she's still here. See, Nelly Furtado is a legend. She is an icon. She is a legend, and I don't like how people forget about her. And even with a lot of British artists I look up to and I, kind of stand, because, girl, low-key, England turns out hits more than America now in today's time, and even back in the day too. Because we're not. That's a different conversation for a different day. Anyway, I don't like how Hollywood in general and the industry in terms of musicians. I don't like how there's this manipulation because it's always been there, but I never said anything. I don't like how Hollywood today dismisses older female musicians who are original, and they try to prop up artists like Beyonce and Madonna who have never written a fucking lyric in their life. First of all, Sia is my idol in terms of musicians. Sia is that girl because Sia had to bust her ass. There's interviews of Sia where she said, she's self-made. She had to, when she got her record deal, she was living with a friend in her friend's apartment in Los Angeles. She didn't have any money like that. She was going through a rough time. She was 3 years sober from drugs. Like, she was 5 years sober from drugs, alcohol. And first of all, Beyonce and Sia worked together when Sia was a songwriter for other artists. And excuse me, I had to adjust my chair. But yeah, first of all, Beyonce stole a songwriting credit from Sia. Beyonce and Sia fell out over that because um, Sia wrote "Pretty Hurts" for Beyonce. If y'all remember from 2013, Beyonce did her self-titled album. Beyonce, it's just called Beyonce. It's the one where she did her HBO special where she did that documentary. I think it's called. Was it Life Is But a Dream? Or am I thinking the second one? I think it's the first one. Anyway, it's the one where she talked about no. I think it is the first one. It's the one where she talked about her miscarriage with Jay and stuff like that. Anyway, but girl, I don't like. Another thing is, girl, I don't like Muskrat. Her husband Jay Z. I call him Muskrat. Girl, it's the whole thing. It's a whole running joke. But anyway, there's Jay Z is a shady character too, and I'm not gonna talk about that just now. But girl, it's the whole thing. But anyway, so like I said, I see a lot of Nelly Furtado. Back to Nelly Furtado. I see a lot of Nelly Furtado and Shawn Mendes because Shawn Mendes, just like Nelly Furtado, is also Portuguese Canadian. And Sean's father. Because first of all, when I say that all the time, people think I'm crazy. People try to call me crazy. People try to think I'm like weird or delusional. But first of all, I've known about Shawn Mendes' music from day one. I have low-key been a Shawn Mendes stan since day one. And I kind of felt like the only black person who really low-key stands Shawn Mendes. Is that weird to even acknowledge? It kind of feels weird to me now looking back. But and I'm actually older than Shawn. It's kind of funny to say that, but I think me and Shawn are 2 years apart. I think I'm 2 years older than Shawn. Let me see. I was born in '96. He was born in '98. And it's weird now, but actually, yeah, when Shawn's first album came out, I remember the album actually has grown on me since it came out, but I didn't like the album at his first album at the time. It's called Handwritten. Um, and actually, Shawn's song on Handwritten called Aftertaste. At the time the album came out, I had an iPhone. Handwritten, no, Aftertaste was my alarm for my phone, my cell phone. So every single day, or I would wake up to the song Aftertaste off Handwritten by Shawn Mendes, and it was so funny because I could quote that alarm, and it was like I'd be thinking 5 more minutes. Let me put this bitch on snooze. Not right now, Shawn. I love you down, girl, but let me put it on snooze. But even though I was mad about Shawn Mendes being my alarm clock, girl, I still just girl, I'll put him on snooze and wake the fuck up. But anyway, I say all that to say that Shawn Mendes, like Nelly, is also Portuguese Canadian. His mother is British and his father is Portuguese, and he's Portuguese Canadian because I think his father is also Portuguese Canadian, if I remember correctly, because um, his mother moved from England to Canada when she married his father. His father Raul Mendes, and if you actually Shawn's full name is Shawn Peter Raul Mendes. By the way, it's public knowledge. I can say that, girl, because it's not doxing, girl. Let's keep it real. But if you watch Shawn's In Wonder documentary, there's actually like in the first like 5 or 10 minutes, there's actually footage of Shawn's very first concert, and his father actually was there. And his father, first of all, people try to use the argument of Shawn's skin tone, of Shawn being white passing, to excuse, because people tell me, like haters would tell me, when I said Shawn's Portuguese Canadian, they would say, oh, Shawn barely looks ethnic. Like, first of all, that is low-key racist and low-key xenophobic because you're going by skin tone and discrimination. And it's like, girl, you're also disrespecting his father's heritage because his father looks ethnic. Like, you could tell his father is dark-skinned, and his father, like, if you didn't know his father was Portuguese, you'd almost think his father was Latino from his complexion. But like I said, whole other conversation for a different day. But anyway, first of all, the part they don't tell you is a lot of Portuguese people have black ancestry. an African ancestry. But like I said, that's a whole other conversation for a different day. I'm not gonna go too controversial, but anyway, like I said, the reason why I really like support Shawn Mendes the way I do is because um, he reminds me. He's kind of like, to me, he's like the male version of Nelly Furtado. And when Nelly Furtado came on the scene, I could still remember, like, I could still tell you how I felt hearing her voice for the first time. And I was 5 years old. I could tell you verbatim where I was. Like, it's a whole thing. And after Nelly Furtado kind of faded out of the limelight, I could personally tell you that I remember saying to my mom, I said, I've never spotted another artist who gave me that same curiosity the way Nelly Furtado did when she first came on the scene when I was 5 years old. And it's true. That actually was until Shawn Mendes. And another one, Conan Gray, who I love Conan Gray down too, love him too. Shawn and Conan are kind of similar to me, but their styles are different, but they're very similar in terms of being singer-songwriters. It's a whole other thing, like I said. Anyway, but another story about me too that y'all really don't know is I knew about Sia before she was famous. I've watched her career, from 2009 onwards. Girl, I could tell you stories. I've spoken to Sia 5 times. Girl, I got Sia on the Oprah Winfrey show when Oprah had her talk show on ABC. It's a whole thing. And girl, Oprah knows about me, girl. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But anyway, I also knew about Machine Gun Kelly before he was famous. Before he even had his first album out, I remember in 2010, he had performed at a high school in Cleveland because he grew up in Cleveland. He's not from Cleveland, but he grew up there for a large part of his life. And I could tell you that the video was on YouTube. And when I watched him perform at that high school in Cleveland, I was like, who is this kid? Like, he is so real and just original and authentic. He really had a lot of that. Machine Gun Kelly had a lot of that, and he still does today, but in a different way. He had at that time, I'm saying 2010, when I discovered his music, he had that same grittiness, that same brutal honesty in his lyrics, and that same directness, and that same blunt approach in his performances and his style and his even his fashions, just like today. That a lot of the icons, of my generation, like, the Nelly Furtados, the Christina Aguileras, the, Maya, if y'all know Maya from back in the day, Case of the X, that's still my shit. The, who is it? DMX even, I would say. And they work together. It's kind of funny I mentioned that because Kells and DMX work together. But yeah, it's like he had that same kind of grittiness that a lot of the icons of my era that I looked up to had. So that's why I really, embraced MGK. And we also kind of have the same background too, and of friends of mine that I knew who were white and in the hood. It was a whole thing too. I knew about it. I think 2 or 3 mixtapes. I think he had 100 Words of Running. Then he had 2 other mixtapes. I forget the names. He had 2 other mixtapes too, and they're actually on YouTube. If you guys go look them up, they're on YouTube. But he actually said that he was the first rapper to win Amateur Night at the Apollo. And he said he actually, because the Apollo, of course, is in New York. It's on St. Nicholas Street in New York. And he said that because he won Amateur Night at the Apollo, first prize was $35, a check for $35. He said, I never spent the check, and I took the check and I framed the check. And it's stories like that that really made me relate to MGK's story. And I really, really, really can relate to Kells and how hard he had to fight because I've went through that same story as a struggling artist myself. My path in life, and I've said this to some people, but I don't know if, I've ever said this on video before, but I can go and check. But my vision for my career was always, I would work these 9 to 5 jobs, struggling, hustling. I think he had 100 Words of Running. Then he had 2 other mixtapes. I forget the names. he had two other mixtapes too, and they're actually on YouTube. If you guys go look them up, they're on YouTube. But he actually said that he was the first rapper to win amateur night at the Apollo, and he said he actually 'cause the Apollo, of course, is in New York. It's on St. Nicholas Street in New York. Um, and he said that because he won amateur night at the Apollo, first prize was $35, a check for $35. He said, I never spent the check, and I took the check and I framed the check. And I, it's stories like that that really made me relate to MGK's story. And I really, really, really can relate to Kells and how hard he had to fight, because I've went through that same story as a struggling artist myself. My path in life, and I've said this to some people, but I don't know if, I've ever said this on video before, but I can go and check. But my vision for my career was always, I would work these 9 to 5 jobs, struggling, hustling, because my goal has always been to become a successful songwriter, to where I can be self-sustaining and have sustainability and not have to depend on a 9 to 5 job to make ends meet and have to struggle paycheck to paycheck like my mother and I did. I both did and still do. And, you know, I have a lot of empathy for MGK too. And, excuse me, I burped. And yes, he is bipolar, and yes, he has done and said some things that would be considered abusive, which, and I acknowledge he has abusive tendencies. However, I do understand that, you know, there is a side to MGK that people really don't know about. There's a very caring side to him that people don't see, because people, how can I put this? People all have over sexualized Machine Gun Kelly as well for too long and too many years. People have um, dismissed his rap music because of the Eminem beef. And first of all, it's like there's so many things that about MGK's life that I can really tell you. Like, I can quote things, I can quote his song, like favorite songs of mine that I like of his. Like, I'm a stan. I'm a Loki stan. Once again, Shawn Mendes, MGK, Nelly Furtado. Like, why am I standing? Charlie Puth to another one. I call him Charlie Puthy. I love Charlie Puth too. I think I knew about him before he was famous too, vaguely. But it's been so many years, I can't remember a lot of the story, but I can remember some things. But actually, people don't know Charlie Puth is from the Jersey Shore area, like me. I grew up in the Jersey Shore, in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Charlie Puth is also from Monmouth County, like me. He's from Rumson, this town. Like, actually, I'm Tinton Falls, where I'm at now, is like 20 minutes from Rumson, girl. So it's a hop, skip trip for me right now. But I also love how Charlie's done interviews about his experiences in Jersey. You still tell he's so humble and he's so down to earth. And if I was a songwriter, there's a couple people I would really love to work with. Charlie Puth, first and foremost. Then Machine Gun Kelly. I love Machine Gun Kelly. Then Coney Gray. Then Shawn Mendes. Then Nelly Furtado. Then Zayn Malik. I feel like Zayn Malik and I would get along because we really understand, life, and we're just, he's just different as an artist, as a person. Like, he's just different. Um, I used to, I think a couple weeks ago, I wrote a list of artists I wanted to collaborate with if I ever had the chance to work with them. I think I said Eminem would be one of them too. I've always been a fan of Eminem. He was one of my favorites growing when I was a kid. Like, I'm very much a 2000s kid still, but I'm 30 years old. It's a whole thing. Um, Justin Timberlake is one, but the Britney Spears, like, his misogyny really kind of turned me off to that idea. So I'm torn about it. I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule out working with JT, but at the same time, like, girl, I'm judging you low key. Um, Robin Thicke is another one. I grew up loving Robin Thicke. I knew about Robin Thicke before Blurred Lines, girl. I knew about Robin Thicke before he was famous. Um, when Lost Without You came on the radio, like in 2006, I remember hearing "Lost Without You" for the first time, being like, who is this fine ass white boy singing this song? And Robin Thicke, first of all, Robin Thicke is just like Charlie Puth. He reminds me a lot of Charlie Puth. He's like an older Charlie Puth to me. Robin Thicke writes, produces, arranges his own music. I'm talking about before the internet, before social media. Robin Thicke was writing, producing, arranging his own shit. Robin Thicke used to be married to the actress Paula Patton. First of all, if y'all are black like me and y'all are in black family, y'all know how big Paula Patton was for us in the 2000s. How like a cult classic Paula Patton is. First of all, Paula Patton is so underrated as an actress. I still love her. First of all, if y'all are black like me, y'all know how big Paula Patton was back in the day. Paula Patton was that girl. Paula Patton is also underrated as an actress, just like Robin Thicke is underrated as a musician. It's a whole thing, but like I said, I've been around too long and I've seen too much, and I know. Anyway, but yeah, Robin Thicke has always been since I was a kid, since I was like 10 years old. We're talking like since 2006. Since 2006, Robin Thicke has been one of my favorite musicians. Not only and not because of him being good looking, girl, because I do have a crush on Robin Thicke too, just like Charlie Puth. He is good looking too, but like I said, that's beside the point. That's not even why I like them. I'm talking about, you know, Charlie and Robin to me, they remind me a lot of Hall and Oates. If y'all ever listen to Hall and Oates, how Hall and Oates, when they were young, they said the Temptations were their idols, and they used to camp out. They said they worked for they used to beg Otis Williams from the Temptations to work with him for free. You know what I'm saying? Like we're talking this the '70s, the '60s, and they're having the best. Like imagine if Hall and Oates tap like icons like them. Imagine if they weren't able to work with the Temptations and launch their careers based off the Temptations discovering them. Like, can y'all imagine? We wouldn't have legendary classics from Hall and Oates. Like, first of all, and even relating to the MGK and Eminem thing, Hall and Oates were the original MGK and Eminem because they were the Eminem of the '70s. Because my mom grew up in the '70s. My mom said Hall and Oates was one of her favorite groups, and you know, my mom even said when Hall and Oates came on the scene in the '70s, she said everybody was like, "Who are these white boys with this soul?" Like people were taken by surprise because they didn't know Hall and Oates were white, and you know, it just goes to show you too. Like it's the same thing with Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly. How when Eminem came on the scene, Eminem's old manager, I saw an interview with her where she said nobody wanted to work with Eminem before he worked with Dr. Dre. And Dr. Dre discovered him really because there's an interview with Dr. Dre where Dr. Dre said Eminem randomly walked into Dr. Dre's studio and he opened the door to the studio, didn't tell Dre hi, didn't tell Dre anything, didn't even speak to him. The minute he opened the door, he got in the booth and started rapping to the lyrics to what became the song, the iconic song, My Name Is. If y'all see millennials like me, y'all know My Name Is. If y'all remember how big that song was at the time, I'm telling you, listen, first of all, I always said I never put my own tea out there in the street like that, but we're going to divulge Donald's personal business for a minute. But when I was a kid, I used to have the biggest crush on Eminem. Eminem, Robin Thicke, and Justin Timberlake were like the three white boys I would have married because they listen. Robin Thicke, and Justin Timberlake were like my three white husbands in my head, girl. From the time I was very young, and girl, that's the whole story. But I'm not gonna put my where I might have to tell the story later, but you know, it first of all, the fact that the only one who really came out unscathed is Eminem says a lot to me, but for different reasons. But I know Robin Thicke has had his struggles, but he has turned his life around. He's doing much better, because Robin and Paula Patton divorced, and Paula Patton did say that Robin was physically abusive to her, and that I think I had read an article saying that Paula had called CPS on Robin because he had tried to kidnap their son during their their joint custody visits or something like that, their visitation visits or something like that. It was a whole thing. Like, girl, it was giving Sound of Freedom, girl. It was giving sex trafficking tea, but it was giving trafficking tea, girl. But anyway, so like, so okay, so pre-social media, pre-internet, in the early 2000s, and when I was a kid, you know, Eminem, Robin Thicke, and Justin Timberlake were my husbands in my hands. Like my three white husbands, I would marry tomorrow morning would have been them before social media, right? Granted, it was a different generation. I didn't know, them being problematic back then. I didn't really see all that to really know like that because I was 10 years old. I was like eight. I was like 8, 9 years old back then. See today. See, as I got older, I would say my three additional white husbands girl would probably have been Machine Gun Kelly, Charlie Puth. Because girl, listen, y'all. If y'all, for those of y'all who know, y'all know I love me some Charlie Puth, girl. Woo, girl. I'm blushing just talking about it. Anyway, but I love Kells, Charlie Puth. I used to really, I used to really have a crush on Aaron Carter too. But after Aaron Carter got them face tattoos, I was like, girl, what is wrong with you? I gotta take you off the husband list, girl. But first of all, Aaron Carter also is a narcissist, but that's like I said, a whole other video for a whole different day. Because there's a side to Aaron Carter that people have publicly seen, but they don't acknowledge about him, and he still has supporters. It's like, girl, it's weird. But yeah, I lost a lot of respect for Aaron Carter when I learned the truth about him. Anyway, um, really Nick Carter too, but that's a different story for a different day. If y'all want me to do a video about that, tell me. But yeah, so um, I feel like I totally just lost my train of thought and just got long winded, girl. But yeah, I'm gonna end this video right now, and I really, really love you guys who have stuck around for me when I really did not have anything. I I really, truly, truly am thankful for all the laughs we've had over the years, all the memories we've created over the years. I've had so many missed phone calls, so many missed opportunities, both for in my 9 to 5 jobs and in my even in Hollywood. I've had Hollywood opportunities that, you know, had I been there at the right time, like even just 1 month earlier, 2 months earlier, I would have got the job. But I missed it, and I really wanted it. Would have been a dream job for me, but for whatever reason, I missed the call or whatever. I've had run-ins with celebrities that I didn't tell y'all about. Like I've had personal struggles I didn't tell y'all about on camera. And I had to come on camera like, hey girl, oh God, come on, and I had to put on a smile, because that's just how it's brought up. Like, you don't make, you don't bring attention to yourself, and you don't make yourself into a victim, because you don't stop your career because of one sad event. That's why I do not like Meghan Markle. And that might sound disrespectful and controversial to some people, but it is true because girl, Meghan Markle is a narcissist, and there's her own sister has said that Meghan is narcissistic. And girl, I've looked at receipts, and her sister is telling the truth. Her sister has never lied about her. Like, there's certain things I know about Meghan that girl, like, y'all be shocked. Anyway, but so, oh, also another white husband in my head before social media. I had said as a kid I used to say Eminem, um, Justin Timberlake, and Robert Thicke were my three white husbands. Number 4 is Prince Harry, and Prince William's number 5. When I tell y'all Prince Harry and Prince William have just kept my heart for 27 years, girl, 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 I just blush thinking about it. There is such a appeal to Englishmen that I just love. Oh my God, girl. Don't get started. Don't get me started. Don't get me started because we'll be here all day. We'll be here all day. We'll be here all day. But yeah, like I said, I'm so thankful for my friends who stuck around, and even when my friends were not in a position to help me, I don't hold it against them, but I also don't forget how when I was in a time of need, y'all didn't come through for me, and y'all openly said, no, da, 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 and I was left feeling abandoned, low key, and like, But anyway, like I said, I'm thankful for the position I'm in, and I'm grateful for my life. Bye.